Okay, so we're doing a book club reading Man and His Symbols by Carl Jung, and we're doing it asynchronously because it's very difficult to schedule things with my friends. So we're going to start recording it and discussing things in parallel. And I'm gonna it's gonna be like Lost Cool Media, where I'm gonna be talking about a passage, and you might not be knowing what I'm talking about. But also, as an additional bit, I'm gonna keep reading until a little bit escapes my hands. Okay, so I thought this section was kind of cool. For instance, a patient of mine dreamed of a drunken and disheveled, vulgar woman. In the dream, it seemed that this woman was his wife, though in real life his wife was totally different. On the surface, therefore, the dream was shockingly untrue, and the patient immediately rejected it as dream nonsense. If I, as a doctor, had to let him start a process of association, he would inevitably have tried to get as far away as possible from the unpleasant suggestion of his dream. In that case, he would have, with one of his staple complexes, a complex possibly that had nothing to do with his wife, and we should have learned nothing about the special meaning of this particular dream. What then was his unconscious trying to convey by such an obviously untrue statement? Clearly, it somehow expressed the idea of a degenerate female who was closely connected with the dreamer's life. But since the projection of this image onto his wife was unjustified and factually untrue, I had to look elsewhere before I found out what this repulsive image represented. In the Middle Ages, long before the physiologists demonstrated that by reason of our glandular structure there are both male and female elements in all of us, it was said that every man carries a woman within himself. It is the female element in every male that I have called the anima, or this feminine aspect that is essentially a certain inferior kind of relatedness to the surroundings, and particularly to women, which is kept carefully concealed from one another as well as from oneself. In other words, though an individual's visible personality may seem quite normal, he might be concealing from others, or even from himself, the deplorable condition of the woman within. So I think this is an incredibly interesting passage, and I think that Jung actually does discuss anima in other places, but this is probably the first mention of it. And it's such an interesting anecdote, right, where even on a surface, like, when you're discussing the anima, the mind immediately resorts to, oh, this is another woman in my life. It can't be me. It can't be me. And in reality, this concept that the inner woman in your life is some sort of disheveled alcoholic speaks a great volume about someone's subconscious, and this provides a very interesting glimpse into this man's psyche, right? Like, when Jung describes the certain inferior kind of relatedness to surroundings, I think that this kind of isn't. Yeah, maybe this gendering is a little bit misogynistic, but I don't think. I think it's more gendered in a certain way that's like, okay, how do I position myself in relation to the world where I'm not forcing myself over it, and that's what he means by the anima, or the female gendered of the spectra, right? And what does it mean when the gentler side of your psyche is alcoholic and disheveled? Maybe as an example, this person is struggling with the side of his I forgot actually what the other thing is that he calls I think it's the animus. What the male companion side is struggling with, and what the female side is grappling with is like, I'm tired, I'm alcoholic, I'm drowning myself in things that suppress myself because the gentle nature of myself is disheveled and uncared for. And to kind of extend this discussion, I'm very interested in what sort of anima and animus expresses in your own life, and how much of it is actually visible versus how much is this like an active learning experience that you're able to uncover over the analysis of your own dreams. Okay, that's the end of the snippet. Bye.